Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different and share with you my writing journey via all of this lot, which is all of my notes, my various drafts for my novel, planning things out, all sorts of different things. So I thought I'd share how I have got to where I am now. And when I say that, I kind of think, but actually I'm not that further forward than I was when I started back in 2005, but that's another story that I will perhaps touch on as I go through all of this, where to start. And I think the place to start really is the beginning, so I will clear all this out of the way. I started writing back in 2004, 2005. I had given birth to my son in 2003 and I had a really difficult time of it. Whilst I was pregnant, I remember sitting in our spare bedroom at a little computer and typing away the story of me getting married and all the funny kind of anecdotes that happened during that time. And from there we moved house and I had my son, and I had this terrible time after the birth and struggling in a new area. And so what I did for months and months and months was to continuously rewrite the same chapter over and over again, or the same 3 chapters, but not much further than that. I joined a writing group in my local town. At one point I thought I would write short stories and submit them to magazines. I wrote our writing instructor, and I'm laughing because I've just read what I've written inside this newspaper. Our writing instructor, he encouraged us to write anything, and he said, even if it is just to the letters page of your paper, local paper. So I decided to do that. I sent a very angry letter to my local paper, and I'm not going to show you that because it's just far too embarrassing. And I very proudly told my writing instructor or writing teacher that I'd done this, and he said, it feels great, doesn't it, to have your words in print? Now imagine how that would feel if you got a short story in print or an article in print or had your work published as a book. And I thought, yes, that would be great. And it did kind of spur me on a little bit, but like I say, reading that now, it's just highly embarrassing. But that was, let me just check, that was in May 2006. Shortly after that, I read a book by Kate Harrison, and I've written about this on my blog before. Kate had set up her own blog. This was when blogs were really quite new, and she was encouraging other writers to race to finish their first draft. And so I thought, after thinking about this for a long time and feeling quite sick because I knew what I was about to do, and that would be to email a published author and ask if I could take part in her novel race. And she was absolutely lovely and said, yes, of course, Helen, come along to my online coffee morning, and what I do ask you to do though is to set up a blog. So that's what I did. I set up my first blog and I called that Reader's Ramblings, and this is some of that blog here, and I'm just having a look to see if it's got the very first blog post on, but it hasn't. I think, look, there's a picture of a cake there. That's a sign of things to come, that I'd soon start writing about cake. But what I would do every time I had a blog post, I would put my word count in. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Thursday, February the 1st, 2007, word count 12,576. And I think I joined in January. Yeah, word count 9,341, 5,507. Oh, here we are, my very first blog post, must be. I bought a book called The Brown Owl's Guide to Life by Kate Harrison. I enjoyed the book. I saw that she had created the great novel Race. Well, isn't this just what I need, I thought, with great excitement. So this morning, I've emailed Kate in order to join. And I think I was on 3,796 words, which is, I've put here, not much for a novel that I have been writing, researching for 2 years. And by 11 AM, I'd written another 600 words. And then time went on, and like I say, I would post my word count and how many words I'd written during that day. Here I've written over 2,000 words. Here we're in April now, 41,000 words. So you get the idea, this is what I did. And then on Sunday, September the 9th, I wrote a blog post and I called it On the Edge, and this was all about my son. My son's starting school, and he was at the beginning of his school life, and this is quite hilarious actually, because he's just finished his GCSEs. He's now 16, but this is when he was beginning his school life. So much to look forward to, and yet I was sad. This actual blog post went into a book. So yeah, that blog post went into a book, which is, as luck would have it, right here. It's called You're Not the Only One, and it's intimate stories from the internet, compiled and edited by Sarah J. Peach. And here we are, number 24, On the Edge, by Helen Redfern of reddersramblings.blogspot.com. So that was 2007, I wrote that blog post. This book came out in 2008, just the year before. I was really excited when I'd got my angry letter into the letters page of the local newspaper, and now here I was having a blog post of mine put into this book, which was very, very exciting. That's how my blog started opening up lots and lots of doors for me, and more people were coming online to read things, and that is when I got my first job, and that was for a website called Trashionista, where I would write book reviews and there's another short story there, and a column, I think it was on a Tuesday, called Helen's Heroines, and I would write about some of my favourite heroines from the world of fiction. For example, there was Jo from Little Women, Hermione from Harry Potter, obviously George or Georgina from The Famous Five. You get the idea. That was the sort of thing I would write about. I started writing for free, and then I became one of the paid freelancers that wrote for the site. And then I had my second child that coincided with Trashionista folding, so that kind of worked out. But that is how my blog started the ball rolling, and I went onto Facebook, and then I started a Twitter account, and this was back when Twitter wasn't as shouty as it is nowadays. But there was another charity book called Tweet Treats, compiled and edited by Jane Travers, with a foreword by Marco Pierre White. It was a Twitter recipe book. I have got creamy rice pudding. This is back when I was Helen Redders on Twitter. I've got One Pot Wonder, still make that. Underneath, Richard Curtis's and Emma Freud's recipe for tarragon chicken. And then, what else? So I think, did I get 3 in here? Yeah, caramel popcorn under Nuts and Nibbles. So there we go, imprint again. All very exciting. So what happened then? I had my daughter. Bear in mind that during 2007, I did finish the first draft of my novel, and I think I called it Burnt Chocolate from the very beginning, but I had different names for my main characters. And I don't really recognise any of this because Burnt Chocolate, my novel, has changed so dramatically since I did that first draft back in 2007. And yes, I'm well aware it's now 2019, and Helen, you're still writing the same novel. It's been 12 years. Don't worry, I'm on it. But it's been a bit of a journey over these 12 years, and there has been distractions. When I wrote for Trashionista, that took up a lot of my time, and I was still recovering from the birth of my son. He went to school, then I got pregnant with my second child, and again I was writing through it. But after having my second child, we moved to the countryside, got chickens, ducks, etc., and everything kind of fell over on the writing front, and I discovered Instagram. Plus, getting to the next big job thing, I got a job with a website called Novelicious, and this was very similar to Trashionista, and it was a website about books and reading and writing. I think I had 2 columns a week to write for that, and one of them was feasting on romantic comedy or feasting on fiction. And this was because at some point between 2007 and 2012, or 2013, when I started writing for Novelicious, I set up various other blogs, and one of them was called Feasting on Romantic Comedy, or romantic fiction, honestly can't remember, but this was when I would write about a book and put a recipe in it from that book. When I started writing for Novelicious, I was asked by the owner of the site, would you do this Feasting on Romantic Comedy? And I said yes, I'd love to, and so I continued with it, but for a bigger audience, which was extremely exciting. And again, I think this was a paid thing, which was wonderful. So I have got notebooks like this full of me writing down synopsises, lots of blurbs for books. And I would read them quite quickly, desperately looking for any mention of food in them. And if there was any mention of food, I'd be right. Okay, that's it. I'm going to now recreate that recipe and take a photograph of it for Novelicious. So like I say, lots of notebooks like this. So this is a blurb here, a synopsis here for The Accident, which is by Callie Taylor. She mentioned chocolate hobnobs, so I have created a recipe for chocolate hobnobs. So I've got tons and tons of notebooks which are very similar to this. And then through Novelicious, I actually went down to Torquay and did a big thing about Agatha Christie, which was also really exciting. Yeah, so lots of opportunities came my way. What's in this one? This is what the Novelicious team would like in their Christmas stocking. So I wrote a post on that. And me, I would like A Merry Christmas and Other Christmas Stories by Louisa May Alcott. What have we got here? This is Shepherd's Pie, and this is about Kate and Roderick, or Roddy. Lots of malt whiskey. I think this is Rachel Lucas's book. It's funny how certain books stand out to you. That would have been years ago. So yes, that's what these notebooks are. Now, in terms of my novel, I was writing 2 novels. I was writing Burnt Chocolate, or when I say writing, I was trying to edit it, but I had no idea how to go about doing an edit on it. So I was basically tweaking it, changing characters, lots of different things, but not actually going forward with it. This is an interview about Liz Fenwick, article about Enid Blyton, and all of this would have been for Novelicious. But then the thing is, Novelicious then led on to something else. I got what probably every writer dreams of. I got an email from a literary agent asking me if I wanted to turn my column on Novelicious into a book. And of course I said, yes, please. And I signed up with her. I had a literary agent, and it was the most exciting thing ever. And I started to put together a book of recipes based on food in romantic comedy. And this is what this notebook is all about. We've got potato cakes from Maeve Binchy, American biscuits from The Colour Purple, samosas from Ralph's Party. I think I went with just cakes in the end, but this is when I was first starting to think about it. Tiramisu from Sally by Freya North, chocolate profiteroles, Plain Away, is that Adele Parks, Chocolat, Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights, all sorts of different food. And then my agent, I submitted my first attempt to her and she gave me a lot of feedback. I basically seized up because I knew an agent was now reading my stuff, and I lost my personality and everything like that. I became very tense, I guess, in my writing, and I lost all my passion, and therefore the reader didn't get any of the passion. So this was her feedback. Lemon cake here. Sally is A Tale of Two Puddings, and this is the tiramisu. I think this is what started me out. Tiramisu was in Sally by Freya North, and that book has got the most amazing food scenes in them. I think a lot of Freya North's early books had a lot of food in, and they were an absolute treat to read because of that. So I think that's what started the idea of me writing about food in romantic comedy. And then here I'm starting to write my synopsis, because we were putting together 3 chapters plus a synopsis and biography of me, and we were playing around as well with different titles for the book. Anyway, long story short, after lots and lots of work, it all went off to the publishers, and I got some brilliant feedback, but the publishers didn't feel it was right at that time, or somebody said that we're going to publish something similar and things like that. So it didn't happen. It was quite sad, and it kind of threw me for a while, and I lost a lot of confidence. And again, the writing of the novel took a back seat, and this is just some of my notes and printouts of various drafts and research for my novel Burnt Chocolate. In here I have things like all my research. So this is about birth trauma, and I printed loads of stuff off the internet, bought loads of books about it and stuff. I have got drafts in there. One of the big problems I had was, because I was writing for these online websites, as well as writing my own blog, as well as writing this book, my own novel just took a back seat. I just couldn't do it all. And then what have we got in here? A grid. Oh, I've done a grid recently. See, I've done grids in the past as well. So this is plot and emotions, and this is me dividing it all up. I've changed it a lot since this. There was a lot on her being in hospital, and now a lot of the action takes place after her hospital, but I made it all about the hospital in my first drafts. This is me making notes on each chapter. I've done a lot of work on this. A baby being sick down the back of a dress, that happened to me a lot. That must be why I've kept that. That happened to me so much. This is all about burnt chocolate in here. And then what have we got in here? Researching what panic attacks feel like, and even more in here. I think we've just got lots more drafts on the synopsis and stuff like that. I think did I send it out at any point? I might have done when it was in a different, when it was completely different, before it evolved to be the way it is now. I have this box as well, and this was from last year when I started doing an outline of the novel. The problem I have is when I get distracted, and I was doing a lot on Instagram for a while. I was doing a lot on my blog for a while and increasing my viewing figures, and I was kind of flirting with the idea of being an influencer on Instagram as well. So I was doing some of that. All these things take up time, and if I feel I don't have a big chunk of time to do my novel, then I won't do it. I'm not very good at just slotting it in. Again, just so many more notes on the novel. Post-its. Blimey, I'd forgotten about all of this. This is what I need to go through to, if you've seen my last video about what I'm doing next with my novel, I said I'm going to go through old drafts to pick out various bits that I think might be useful. That's when I had mentoring with Sarah Tasker of Me and Orla for Instagram. The other book that I've been working on, or had been working on for a while, is all in this box. And this is a book I am really excited about. I feel I need to dedicate a lot of time to it. So I want to get burnt chocolate out the way and done with before I then fully concentrate on this. And in here we have lots of little notebooks with drawings. I'm not a very good drawer, but sometimes it helps visually to draw what you're thinking of in your head, and then it becomes more real. What have we got in here? Oh, we've got a family tree. And this this is about a young girl called Verity Volleman. She finds out something quite shocking about herself and her life change, and her parents have disappeared. But she wants to find them. But I think she's got this kind of psychic connection with her mum as well. So her mum's been kidnapped and held somewhere. That's why I've put this here. On a photograph, she stroked her mum's cheek. "I'll find you," she whispered. And then in here, I've got a baddie plot. I've got goody characters, special practices. I've got a picture of the main bad guy, which is obviously Colin Dudar. What's his name? Colin. Mr. Darcy. Colin. Can't remember his name. And then we have Verity's brother, which is Bear Grylls. Just there. I've just remembered Colin Firth. That's Colin Firth. Just lots of kind of working out the backstory, I think, here. A picture of a army dormitory. So that's what that notebook is. Just some of the details, and I guess some of those details won't all be known in the novel itself, but it's something that I need to know. I've got research on lead here. All very interesting. This is one of the first notebooks that I used for Verity. That's what she was going to look like. She's not going to look like that now. Told you my artist skills not brilliant, but I tell you what I do like to do, and that is to draw a map. It really helps for me to know where everything is in my mind. So there's that map, and there's this map. Whenever we went out down to my in-laws' house, we always used to go through various bits of the country with really odd sounding names, and I used to collect those names in a notebook, and I thought, oh, I could use those in my novel, because they're just really odd names, but very English names as well for villages. I've got a slice of a building here. Yeah, lots and lots of workings out. And then what's in here? I've got some more drawings here. Now this must be at the place that's a bit like an army. Ah, this is the fish finger sandwich draft. That's literally what I've called it. And that is when I first started writing this novel. And it all started with a fish finger sandwich. But now, it doesn't start with a fish finger sandwich. It starts with Verity walking along the road and then literally taken and kidnapped into a car. So it's starting right in the action. I guess the only notebooks I can finish it off with are these ones. I've got 2 journals. That's one of them. The other one's downstairs in my handbag. I've got my traveller's notebook because I started printing out all of my Instagram pictures, and that has been a very big part of my creative journey. That started in 2014, so I started my blog in 2007, so 7 years later I started on Instagram. Prior to Instagram I'd been on Twitter, as you saw with that little Twitter recipe book, a little bit on Facebook, but that was mainly a kind of hangout place. That's why I started on Facebook. It's a hangout place with my writing friends. So yeah, Instagram took over in a big way from 2014, and prior to Instagram, I think it was 2013, when I was taken on by an agent and I was writing for Novelicious. Gosh, that was 6 years ago. And now I have got my YouTube channel. I have got my essays all about being online and creating online, and as you can see by now, I've been online for a long time, so therefore I've got a lot to say about it. And I write these essays for my patrons on Patreon, and I'm hoping one day they will become a self-published book. And then this is Burnt Chocolate. So I have got lots and lots and lots of notebooks of Burnt Chocolate, my novel, and now I feel I'm finally getting somewhere, and I've sorted out the structure. I know what the big theme is of the novel now, and it's not what I thought it would be back in 2006, 2007, when I suppose I thought I was writing a kind of Bridget Jones kind of book, but now I know it's not. It's a lot more serious than that. It's got some serious themes in it. So it's evolved as I've evolved over the last decade and a bit. That is my past, my writing past, and in my future I'm hoping to get Burnt Chocolate finished within the next 6 months or so. I'm hoping to get back into writing my essays because I've had a break from them whilst moving house. And I'm loving doing the whole YouTube thing, and I'm finding it's a big motivator on my writing. Then finally I want to get back to Verity Vollerman and her secret life and her kidnapped parents. So there's lots going on, and I've learned a lot about myself and how I get easily distracted because I am a big procrastinator. And the thing that's underlying my procrastination is I didn't have much in terms of self-belief as a writer. I came to writing quite late. A lot of people thought they would be writers from a very early age. This wasn't me. I've always enjoyed writing, but I never thought that I could be good at it. I've often felt guilty for writing, especially after having my 2 children, and then having the land that we used to have and the animals that we used to have, and all the things that needed to be done, as well as feeling like I needed a proper job with a proper income. And that's why I got sidetracked by doing my freelance work. I got sidetracked by all the coaching stuff that I used to do, and when I did some of the influencing work on Instagram as well, I felt, because when you're writing a novel, you're obviously not getting paid until if that novel is taken on by an agent, and then if it gets taken on by a publisher. or if you want to go the self-published route, the money doesn't start until then, and I had a big issue with earning an income, so I went out and I tried to earn an income from other means, and then I didn't have the energy to spend on my writing. It was one of those catch-22 situations, I think. I also had this big fear of failure, and I felt that if I wrote this novel and got it ready for agents and then it got rejected, then my whole lifestyle and my career and my ambitions would be crushed. And so I didn't finish it. Subconsciously, I didn't finish it. That was one of the reasons. And then I also had this big fear of success as well. So I had it all, really. But I've decided to stop with all that now and just to get on with it. And that is partly why I started YouTube. I see it as a big motivator. I've found lots of inspiring people on YouTube, but also I feel like I hold myself more accountable because I am talking to you, and therefore if I'm going to talk about writing, I need to write, and like I say, it's a big motivator. Right, this video is long enough. That is it. That's me done for this video. It was going to be a quick 5 minutes. This is my journey through my writing life, but obviously I'd forgotten about so many things, and it's great to see some of the small wins, some of the small achievements that I've had over the past 13 years, 14 years. Thank you so much for watching. Also, thank you to all the new subscribers that I've had recently. I am overjoyed to see my subscriber numbers shooting up, and pretty soon I'm sure I'll be over the 1,000, which has been my goal ever since I began on YouTube nearly a year ago. And thank you very much to all those who've been with me for all that time. I really appreciate it, and I'm very grateful to all of you. Please do click on that subscribe button, and I will see you next time for another video about writing, journaling, planning. I think it's going to be a planning video, actually, all about my goals for the final quarter of 2019. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye for now. Bye.